Stephen Curtin, welcome, and it's great to meet you face to face. I've been a fan. I've been following you.
Nice.
I relate, something tells me that there might be some people that don't. With the stuff that you tend to say it like it is, and I love the fact that you try and speak truth. And for most people that know you, especially from my our community, I guess, if you will, with like your way around metabolic health, man, and you're amazing shape. You walk the walk, you talk the talk. But something happened recently that I kind of wanted to address to start. Was what happened to Carnivore Invictus on Instagram, anyway?
I have three theories, suspicions, and I really don't know which one it was. At first, I thought it was two. I thought maybe a few months after I started the channel, that particular incarnation of me, because I had another one before that got banned because they got hacked. A friend of mine got hacked, and then the hacker messaged me pretending to be him and sent me he's like, "Can you vote for me? I need to win this." And I said, "Sure." And then the link that he gave me mimicked my login page online for Instagram on the browser, and I typed in my information, and then poof, everything was gone. And I couldn't get it back. And I should have been able to get it back, but that's the thing about Meta that I'll get into in a second. So about a few months after I got the new channel going, the Carnivore Invictus one going, they started warning me that they were going to ban my account because I was posting a lot of unoriginal content. Like I would steal memes off Facebook and post them on IG. Because I don't know, like, I mean, stealing memes is what you do. Like, somebody posts a meme and like, you like that, and it's taxed for redistribution. It's the people's meme, So that's what I was doing on, and they were like, you have to, and then they made me delete like dozens, practically. Like I started getting to the point where I thought I was going to have to delete my entire content, except for the handful of stuff that I actually did myself, which is fine. It's actually better to do your own content, but then I don't know what I did to like get around that, but they stopped making me delete stuff. So, and then I just went back to posting memes, and everything was fine for a while. So I was a member of this carnivore group, and we had this, we would do these podcasts, and we had the core group who were like kind of like the main, like the super friends kind of, and then you had like, we had a secondary group that was just a bunch of other carnivores who might not have been as established or knowledgeable. They were new to the space, new to the knowledge and everything, and then we would go into there and help them out, and then the core group was, like just, a lot of stuff was just clowning around and talking about a lot of stuff. And so a couple of them were making offhand comments about how the head of OnlyFans had died very young. He was in his 40s, I think. And I made the offhand comment that he was a rabbi whose goal was to like spread free porn to the world and just normalize pornography. And this one guy took immediate exception to that, saying that I was, just being hateful to certain group of people that you're not allowed to be hateful to. And he was talking about how he had screenshotted a whole bunch of other comments that I had made throughout on IG, on other posts and everything. And I was like, well, post them so everybody can see how ridiculous you are. But they just the next thing I knew, I was banned from the group, which is fine. I'm a free market guy. If you don't want to associate with me, I am cool with that. I have lost I don't know how many friends and family members that I can count over the years, because I speak about things that are uncomfortable truths. Like, I'm not a patriot. Like I'm not a my country right or wrong kind of person. So, very often I'll speak about things and people will tell me, if you don't like it here, you should move to Somalia or North Korea. Very common, conversation that I've had. And I've had very close family members basically disown me, and I've lost countless friends who of course weren't really friends, but, so being disassociated from because of having unpopular views is old hat to me. And I really wasn't offended. I was like, all right, you don't want me in a group, you don't want me in a group. And I left the other group and I was like, all right, we'll just go our separate ways. I really wasn't, I didn't like the way it was handled very much. I was a little salty about that, but other than that, I was like, whatever. This is, and I'm not really a group person anyway. Like I'm a loner. I'm a divergent. You know what I mean? Like it always felt comfortable being part of their group anyway. So that's just me, not them. So, so I just went about my business. And then like not long after that, that's when I caught the ban. And I was like, I kind of wondered if that guy who had all those screenshots or something had reported me as being, a hateful person. But then the third thing that happened was I saw a link on the Drudge Report, not like maybe a couple of days ago, actually. And it was a woman who had just like a normal business. As far as I know, she was helping people who were infertile. So unless she was talking about that injection that they force people to take that you're not allowed to talk about, I don't really know why they would have banned her. Because when IG bans you, they don't give you a reason. They just say you have violated community standards and your account has been shut down. And then they say, do you want to appeal? Yes. And then a day goes by, your appeal was rejected, your account is, and you cannot appeal again. There are no people to speak to on IG. And if you look at the article, she had people that knew people on IG, and they were like, we're going to go to war for you. We're going to get this fixed. And they could not get a hold of anybody that could do anything for this woman. And her account's gone. She had tens of thousands of followers, and she had a business, and they just eliminated it. And they didn't tell her why. They just said you violated community standards. Just very, very innocuous, just non-specific violation. They don't tell you exactly what you did. I have no idea if I said something. And I have no idea if they just did the same thing that they did to her and just randomly banned me for no reason. Maybe there's some kind of stupid AI flaw or glitch or something. No idea. But it was just gone. So it's one of those three things. The most frustrating thing is that there's no human that's going to look into that and be like, let's take a look at this and make sure it's not ridiculous. It's all AI. It's all computer. It's not intelligent at all. It's not human at all. It doesn't take anything. It doesn't take context into account. I mean, Meta AI on Facebook banned me for like a week for telling my wife I was going to punch her in the ovaries. And that was like, that's a quote from Anchorman, in case you don't know. Like, I'm going to punch you in the ovary. That's what I did. And it's a total joke. Like it was a joke between me and my wife, and without even trying to figure out the context of that, they just banned me for a week. And I'm like, that's my wife, and she thought it was hilarious, but okay, So it's just Meta being Meta, and they're just it's not intelligent, and it's not human.
Yeah,
anymore. I mean, there's no human to it anymore, and yet we have to use it. I was gonna just stay off Instagram, but as a coach, I mean, I'm on TikTok now, which is supposed to be, it seems to be at least as good as Instagram, but I still felt like I was missing out on a huge pool of potential clients by not being on there. So I managed to get back on, and I'll just keep the content related to food, and I'll keep it related. I'll just keep it, I'll keep it OC, original content.
That's exactly what I don't want to talk about today. That's awesome, because I think like we're going to challenge this Instagram, because I don't understand it either, man. Like I've seen people get like, suspended. I've seen people get taken down for no reason. And it seems if something's spoken arguably against the mainstream narratives, that it seems to increase your chance quite a bit. And you haven't been shy about speaking, like let alone on Facebook. And I wanted to start off by reading one of your Facebook posts, because I find it fascinating and it hits a lot of things. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read it and then we'll go from there. I forcefully oppose the demon possessed of this world, who are committing unimaginable horrors and cruelties upon the innocent, but also they are completely separated from source, from God. They are spiritually dead and have opened portals to demonic forces which have taken over them. They are, in essence, in hell already. I'm not very good at it, because it takes an enormous amount of presence to look evil like that in its face and have compassion. But if we have discernment and knowledge of self, we must have compassion for those who do evil as we do for their victims. One does not give oneself over to evil of one's own free will and consciousness. Hurt people, and the evil they commit is an expression of their own trauma. Having been given the power to deflect their pain onto the world, pray for them as well. Forgive them. They know not what they do. Powerful stuff. And I think that is, because when it's brilliantly put, and I feel the same way, like it just hit me. But that, so many people could take that out of context, and they could say, like, what do you mean we're going to forgive? So I just wanted to touch on that. What do you mean by the evil? Because I feel the same way. Like, I think it's forces beyond politics, beyond power, control. There's something else. There has to be. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it was Lord Acton said that power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And then you really have to look deeply into what it means to be corrupted absolutely. You are absolutely corrupt. Your soul is gone. Like, you don't have any soul after you've been desouled. And again, my current handle on Instagram is the Gnostic Carnivore. And according to the Gnostics, there are these forces known as the Archons, who are similar to like angels / demons type, like interdimensional beings, depending on if you're a Christian. If you're like an Orthodox Christian, you might view them as angels or demons, or you might view them as interdimensional aliens or whatever.
And I think that Archons means rulers in Greek, I believe.
Yes. So the demiurge is the false god that created the material realm, and then he created the Archons as sort of like prison guards, or So, and one of the things that the Archons do is they create negative emotions and energies that we exert. It's called loosh, and they basically feed off that energy. And it's basically your divine light. They're basically energy vampires sucking on the divine light that source has given to you to get through this material realm. You have this divine fire inside of you, and the whole purpose of Gnosticism is to liberate that divine fire and free yourself from the material world and join back with source, which is the monad, or the true God, the God above God. So some of these people have been traumatized. I mean, they're all victims of trauma. Like we say, forgive them. They know it. Like, hurt people. Some of the most evil people in the world were probably almost certainly horrifically abused by the people that they're around, their parents, and all of their elite class people. They've been in power for so long, over generations. It's all family power. It's all like passed down generational. Like Rockefellers and the Warburgs and the Rothschilds. These are generational, dynasties. So they've been in their literal and figurative ivory towers for so long that they no longer have a human connection with the rest of us. They're abused, they're traumatized, and now they have the power to deflect their trauma onto the rest of the world. Whereas, someone like you and I, we don't really have a lot of power, so we internalize that, and that's called the shadow. That's doing shadow work when you have to face the things that happen to you in your life that cause these uncomfortable patterns of behavior. But they don't have that. They're completely narcissistic. They lack the ability to self-reflect, and they're just basically deflecting their trauma onto the rest of the world because they can, because they control literally everything. They once they took control of the money supply, they control the money. So since they took control of the money, especially with the creation of central banking back in the early 20th century.
This goes back to the Phoenician Canaanites, people. This is deep. They've just bought everything. They own everything. They own you. Your birth certificate and your social security card are methods of
basically making you tax cattle, like a herd of cattle. That's one of the things that guy took issue with when I referred to people as goyim, or the food that you consume that's not food. I called it goy slop because they call you cattle. Yeah. And the thing about, and I'm just going to say the thing about Jews, from my point of view, it's just a human being in power. So back in the 1800s, I think it was, Napoleon was facing the British army at I forget what battle it was, but anyway, it was like this existential battle, and the British army had won. And one of Rothschild's agents raced back to Britain and told the British and spread the rumor that the British had lost. So there was this great panic in Britain, and the stock market crashed. And then Rothschild came in, Mayor Amschel Rothschild came in and bought the entire British economy for pennies on the pound. And then when news got back to Britain that they had actually won, there was jubilation and excitement, and the stock market explodes. And that's how a massive financial powerhouse was born. And then everybody, a lot of people are aware of the Rothschild central banks, and a lot of the wars that we're going into right now are against countries who don't have Rothschild central banking. Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Iran. They don't,
just happens to be all the countries that Netanyahu said, right?
Yeah, it's just a total coincidence. Russia. Once they started establishing the central banks, where they were just creating money out of nothing, with debt attached to it, they just became it's godlike power, absolute godlike power, and they just happen to be Jewish. I don't think it's a characteristic of the Jewish faith or anything, although there's some very disgusting aspects of particularly the Talmud, where they talk about the non-Jews being cattle and they're worthless, and like one good goyim is not worth 100,000 Jews. This is the kind of hatred that they have for us in their scripture. Anyway, I'm not saying every Jew follows their scripture, but I mean, you could say the same thing about Islam, of course. And then, of course, the Old Testament's pretty horrific as well at times. So, but that's where world Jewry kind of took over and became a force. And it's the same. Like if it happened to have been Muslims that did that, if Mayor Amschel Rothschild was a Muslim or a Christian, it would have been the same thing. Again, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the evil that has promulgated from there. Because they just had this unbelievable absolute power, it's corrupted them over generations. So that when you look into the Epstein files, you see just how incredibly, just grotesquely evil these people are. They're committing unspeakable evil against the most innocent, the children.
I think that's something that most people don't realize, and this is something that came to me. And it's like, if you want to call it fourth dimensional thinking, looking at other perspectives, we often, what I find anyways, a lot of people take it like what you would do. This is not what we would do. This is somebody that has no regard for human life. They have absolute power, corrupted, whatever, and they are prepared to do anything. And I think that's where because like we can't imagine doing something like that to people.
But we have no power to do that.
But
if we did, we would get thrown in prison. Yeah. And they do these things because they can, because they own any and all apparati that could possibly hold them accountable. They own it. They own the police. They own the military. They own the politicians. Like they own them. They're literally in their pocket. I mean, like look at Congress. Look how many dual U.S. and Israeli citizens are in Congress. Look how many people are beholden to AIPAC. There's like 3 people in all of Congress who don't accept money from AIPAC. Trump is like up to I think maybe $4 million donations from AIPAC. Miriam Adelson gave him $200 million for his campaign. And then he literally joked about, he asked her, do you love Israel or America more? She's an American citizen, but she's also an Israeli citizen. Do you love America or Israel more? And she couldn't answer the question. It was just like this big joke. These are the people who control our country. I'm sorry that makes people uncomfortable, and I'm sorry the Holocaust happened. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry the Holocaust happened, but that doesn't change reality. I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, promulgate hate against anybody. That's the way it is. That's
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. And I'm not sorry, actually. I'm not going to feel bad for telling the truth. You know what I mean? Like, if that hurts your feelings, if you have a high school education on history, and you don't know about the USS Liberty, you don't know about, why they killed JFK, you don't know about the dancing Israelis on 9/11, the Israeli art students on 9/11, you don't know that Israel created Hamas to destabilize the PLO. And they were literally driving carloads of cash out of Qatar to Hamas from Benjamin Netanyahu. All of these things that you're not allowed to notice, you're not allowed to speak about, and they get mad at me. And I get it, because there was one time when I thought that everybody was blaming Jews. I'm like, oh, it's the Jews, and then as soon as you notice, you can't unnotice. It's every time you lift up a rock of any conspiracy, they're behind it. You know what I mean? It's amazing. Yeah. Give me 1 second. I gotta.
Yeah, no worries.
I need 3 seconds.
No problem. Is the corned beef coming alive? He's making dinner live, people.
Sorry about that. Like I said, I was canning the ground beef, and the pressure had gone to 15, and it's only supposed to be at 10. Oh. And it was starting to be noisy, so I had to.
I was wondering. I was like, "Is that static?" No, that's
my pressure cooker.
That's the process. That's the process.
Yeah.
No, I hear you, man, and a lot of people have a tough time talking, and it's like taking away. It's not the people. This is the if you want to call it the machine or the state, whatever the I guess it's the ruling class of the Jews is different than the people. It's obvious. Like when you go back to even the Sabbatean Frankism and all that stuff, the Zionists. They're taking everything and making, if you say something about Jews, there's so many different sects of Judaism, and I think that's where it's amazing to me how if someone heard you just saying what you're saying, they instantly go anti-Semitic. And they don't even know what anti-Semitic means. And it's like
Israeli Jews aren't even Semitic. They're Ashkenazi European Jews. They're not even. They're like gypsies. They're not even. They just happen to be Jewish, but they're not. They have no genetic lineage to the land of Israel. The Palestinians do. They're Arabs. They're actual Semitic. A lot of them are Christians. And a lot of Christians are just completely indifferent to what Israel is doing to Christians in Gaza, to their churches in Gaza, bombing churches. They just don't care. Bombing Lebanon, Christians in Lebanon, Christian, structures and sites in Lebanon that have been there for thousands of years, just being leveled. And dropping 100, doing 100 bombing runs in 10 minutes, just complete annihilation. And you're not allowed to talk about it because they're Jews.
And that's something that I'd like to ask you about too, is because, you're an American living in the States. I don't know if you consider yourself an American or not, but I don't consider myself Canadian anymore. I live in Canada. The land they call Canada, but I refuse to believe that I'm part of this bullshit system that I don't have a say. I never really did, but is a lot of people talk about that saying, well, Iran they're all the terrorists. They're the leading, they've killed more people. And it's like, have you looked at history? Like in the last 50 years, who's killed who? And
a lot of people start their history at 1979 when the Islamic Revolution took place, and then they stormed the embassy and took hostages. Nobody goes back to 1953 when the CIA purposely went into Iran and overthrew their democratically elected government because he didn't want British petroleums taking their oil anymore. So it's on the CIA's own website. It's called All the President's Men.
Yeah.
All the Shah's Men, I'm sorry. Okay. And they literally brag about Kermit Roosevelt and Norman Schwarzkopf's grandfather, I think, or father, Norman Norman from the first Gulf War. His grandfather or father went in with Kermit Roosevelt, who's the grandson of Theodore or one of the Roosevelts, and they went in there and very, very easily and very, very cheaply created all kinds of social upheaval, and they overthrew Mossadegh, and they installed the Shah. And the Shah was a brutal, vicious dictator for 26 years, and that made us an accessory to that crime. And then and that's when you get the radical elements of your religion, because if you really understand Islam, like, they're really supposed to commit jihad against anybody who doesn't believe. But most people as human beings just want to be left alone. Just leave us alone. I mean, like, there's all kinds of radical elements of every religion.
Yeah.
If you leave people alone, for the most part, they just want to just raise their families and live their life and be happy and worship God in their own way. It's really difficult to get people to leave their homes and harm people who haven't really done anything to anybody, unless you do something like overthrow their government and install a brutal dictator. And then, so that brought out the radical religious elements within Iran, and they took it over. And yeah, they were very fundamentalist religious for a while, but then, like, it's not like that anymore. Like, like, there's women walking around without head coverings, and they got their midriff showing. A lot of them are wearing burqas, and it's basically their own choice right now.
Yeah.
There's no good government, so don't make me out to be that I'm defending Iran. There's only bad governments and worse governments. So the Iranian government's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're not good. But a lot of the impressions that Americans have about Iran come from Western propaganda. And
exactly.
Look who wrote the textbooks that most people learn from. It was Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell. He's the one that owned the company that made the textbooks we all read in high school. So that's who you learn history from. And then,
that right? It's
amazing. Yes. And then, Ronald Reagan sold missiles to Iran to fund an illegal war in Central America, and also introduced crack cocaine in the inner cities and to fund that war. And you know what I mean? Like, everybody talks about, and then of course the lie that Iran killed 40,000 people, 40,000 of their own people. That was complete nonsense, complete lie. And of course, that was another attempt at an Operation Ajax type operation, where it was mostly Mossad trying to stir people up and have another, Western intelligence led color revolution, like in Egypt and in Ukraine, to install these puppet dictators.
That's what seems to be like now. Every time I do any kind of like real research into any conflict, holy false flags, like. Almost every single, and then you can't unsee this stuff. Like, it's amazing how people do, and that's what I find with this war. People started to wake up. They started to see that their governments aren't like. I'd like to get into the Trump thing, not because of good or bad. I'm blown away. I think he's a clone. I don't understand how he said something like this, and then a year later he's doing the exact opposite of what he said. It's not politics, man. This is like. Is the guy sane or is he a clone? But these false flags seem to be just riddled through history, where we got taught something in school, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, there's a backstory to this. And when you just put it all on in front of you, you're like, that's insane. That this nothing that I was taught is what it was.
Yeah, you won't learn it in high school. I mean, like, in American history, going back at least to World War I, you have the sinking of the Lusitania, false flag.
Yeah.
Not really a false flag so much as just like a staged attack.
They planned for
where Germany literally took out an ad in the New York Times saying, "Do not get on the Lusitania. It is going to be traveling through wartime, and it's going to be and there were arms on that boat that there wasn't supposed to be. So they were perfectly there was. I mean, I don't condone war at all. Like war is all war. There's no just war at all. But in the terms of actual war rules, like, they were justified in sinking that ship because they were carrying arms to Britain, and they just put civilians on there to go down with the ship so that they go, oh my God, the Germans attacked us. Yeah. And then of course with World War I, they said, I forget who said, they said, where was Hitler born? And he said at Versailles. So you had the Treaty of Versailles, which just put Germany in such a terrible predicament, and they weren't even really the bad guys in the war. And that's where Hitler arose out of, because, you know, Churchill had the starvation blockade during even after the armistice. He was starving the Germans, and that's why Germany wanted to expand its territory so they could have more resources, so that nobody could do that to them again. And then nobody in America wanted into the war. So you had like General McCollum put out the McCollum memo, or Admiral McCollum put out the McCollum memo, which was an 8-point plan to instigate the Japanese into attacking us. And they followed it to a T. They knew the attack was coming. Yeah. They pulled most of their fleet away from Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, they stood down.
They got all kinds of warnings from all kinds of countries saying they are coming. They are coming today. They are going to attack you. And they left themselves defenseless, and they let all that carnage happen. And there was a day that'll live in infamy, and everybody was furious, and it was all staged. Yeah. And you have Vietnam, the Gulf incident. Yeah. Johnson's like, they could have been shooting at whales out there for all I know. There was nothing going on. It was totally staged. It was fake, and they knew it. 58,000 Americans dead, 3 million Vietnamese dead. I mean, it just goes on and on. Like if you're Operation Northwoods, where they literally talked about staging terror attacks as a pretext to invade Cuba and the Middle East. That's why Israel attacked the USS Liberty, because they wanted to blame that on Egypt as a pretext for war in the Middle East. They were going to blame it on Egypt,
and they got busted.
But the ship just would not go down, and everybody on the ship was like, "That was Israel." Yeah. Those planes had Israeli markings on them. It was Israel attacking us. And Johnson said, "I want that goddamn ship going to the bottom." And they had to gave everybody on the ship medals and made them shut up about it. And that's just government. You know, false flags and psyops are their daily bread. You're living in. Speaking of Trump, like I tell Trump, I was like, all presidents are middle management. Yeah, like because of the money powers control the money. They own everything. They own the president. So he's not even in power. That's why the power never really changes hands. You always have war. You always have rising debt, rising taxation, rising instability, relative. You know, like in America, they'll have one party that'll just floor it towards the cliff, and then the other party will ease back a little bit. Yeah, always moving towards the cliff.
It's going the same.
And people are deluded enough to think that the one party is better than the other because one party is going to the cliff slower, and they just keep participating in it.
Yeah,
but
it's a hard sell, soft sell kind of thing, right?
At this point, if you look at Joe Biden and Trump now, they were both just pants shitting, demented old men. And I think the primary job of the president seems to be just to humiliate everybody. It's like a giant humiliation ritual. Just get the biggest clown show imaginable, just to humiliate and demoralize and embarrass everybody, and make everybody think that everything is just hopeless. He says one thing today, he says something different tomorrow. The war is over. The war is not over. The strait is open. They will open the strait. We don't need the strait open. Our allies need to open the strait. We don't need them to open the strait. Now we're going to blockade the strait. Now we're opening the strait. It's all just I feel like you can only consume so many Diet Cokes, Big Macs, and statins. You know, your brain can only handle so many of those before you just lose your mind. But I think part of it is him just being a demented boomer, and the other part of it is him just doing his job just to clown us. Professionally control us, just gaslight us, humiliate us.
What makes me laugh is before Trump, his first term anyway, when from outside America, we had this, obviously, like our election got taken by Trump because it was elbows up for Canada against Trump, which was ridiculous in itself. But everybody was, he's the next Hitler. He's this, he's going to do this. He's going to take a third term. He's going to be the dick. And it's like, now they're just saying, see, we told you so. And it's like, holy cow, people, everybody's just, it's wild to watch. I mean, you have the MAGA. I mean, did you hear what he said about Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly? Like, just shred them to shred. Like, wasn't he on all their podcasts and weren't they campaigning for him? This is the ridiculous.
Those are the people that got him elected. Basically. I mean, allegedly, if you believe elections are legitimate, Those are the people who got him elected. I think I used to think they were stealing elections. I think that they can manipulate the election any way they want to. Like, I think that they probably stole the election for Joe Biden so that they could put Biden in and just create the most ridiculous, heinous administration imaginable, so that even Donald Trump would seem just like revolutionary, insane by comparison, when he was just brought in to implement the final nail in the coffin. Whereas I think a lot of his supporters are waking up at that core group. No matter what he does, they're just going to defend him. But he's doing all the things that that conservatives would have just been completely up in arms over if it was a Democrat.
No kidding.
But people are so caught in that left-right paradigm that how many times a day I get called a libtard, or and because I Trump, but I exposed Biden for 4 years. You know what I mean? Like I'm like you were saying, you're not a Canadian. I don't view myself as an American. I view myself as a human being. And more than that, even, but at the very base level, you're a human being. That's why, like Julius Caesar, if not, earlier, someone earlier created the whole concept of divide and conquer. So that's why you have all of these divisions in the human ego. You're American, you're white, you're black, you're Canadian, you're white, black, man, woman, gay, straight, trans, LGBTQ, like all of these divisions, and then they throw a piece of red meat in the ground and it's like, go get it, and everybody fights over it, and then they get us all hating each other while they're in their yachts smoking stogies and eating caviar and burning the whole world down. We all have the same enemy, everybody wants to stick to their ego identities and fight everybody else.
Well, they seem to. It doesn't really matter what you believe as long as you believe it absolutely, and don't see any logic or use critical thinking whatsoever. I think that's it's polarization and absolute speaking black and white, no gray. And I don't know if you heard what's going on in Canada, but this is the biggest joke of we have two parties, basically, the Liberals and the Conservatives, kind of like the Republicans and the Democrats. But the Liberals got elected we have a little bit of a different system, a minority government. So they don't have complete control. Well, there's been 5 floor crossers, and they are now majority, unelected. These conservatives that were people voted blue, if you will, on our side, the conservatives are blue. But it's, the right. And they've crossed the floor and given the Liberals a majority government, unelected. And now we don't have a say for anything for 4. It's like, and I'm just sitting here going, people are actually defending that, saying, well, you vote for the person, not the party. And I'm like, okay, come on now. You have a civics degree and you're going to question this? I'll tell you what, all the people that donated to the Conservatives and believe in something just got their votes taken away and their money wasted. I think you might have a problem. But that's where we're at in Canada. And now, I wanted to have this conversation before I couldn't, because our censorship laws are going through it's crazy. We can't even quote, apparently now we can't even quote the Bible correctly, because if we don't do what they are, we don't do, if we say something that they don't like, we'll lose more than just the IG account, apparently. It's crazy.
Britain's the vanguard for that, because they're, you can't say it. You can't say anything without the police showing up and be like, and holding up a phone and say, is this you? Is this your post? And they'll arrest you for saying Free Palestine. I guess there's a group there called Free Palestine, I think. And there's like a genocide going over there, and they're arresting people for saying there's a genocide going on over there. But there's 2 things. Like, I'm over on X too, because right about the time my IG got banned, I was actually able to sign on to X for the first time since the pandemic. Because when it was Twitter, I got banned, and then when Elon took over, his amnesty didn't take on me. I don't know what. All I said was, when we have this thing called the Great Reset Bill, or it was called the Inflation Adjustment Act or something. And it was basically just, the typical government boondoggle that was going to set the stage for a complete collapse or more collapse. And I was like, you people are all going to be starving in 10 years. and then I got banned for that. It was and they were like, you cannot sign back on. So I signed back on after I got banned from IG, and now I'm on X, like for some reason. X is much more political, and I can't stand it. I need to just get off of it because it's just a brain rot. It's all politics. But like probably just about every time I make a comment, I'm either saying there will be no political solutions, or you're still voting.
Yeah, right. It's
still
like,
voting? Oh, like, I mean, like, how many times do you have to? How many times as a candidate you have to make lofty promises only to take a giant dump on you when elected before you just say, all right, this is just a giant scam. Like everything's rigged. I have no power within the system.
Yeah.
That's part of the public school process, though, is instilling you the idea that, the system may not be perfect, but it's the best one we got, and without it, there would be chaos. It's the biggest lie ever told. So no matter how bad things get, no matter how hopeless the situation seems within the political paradigm, everybody just goes back to not everybody, but people just keep going back to the ballot box and say, "Oh, we got to elect this person. We got to get these people in." And it's like in America, we have 535 congressmen, and there's like 2 that are worth a crap.
It doesn't that blow you away?
Been that way since the Ron Paul revolution. I'm like, everybody's like, "Oh, like if we could just get more people like Ron Paul in there." And here we are, like 20 years later, and we have 2 people. Maybe I don't even know who they are anymore. Like
I want to know why is it that 2 congressmen spoke out about the Epstein files? Like 2? Are you kidding me?
They're the 2 people who are not on that are not beholden to AIPAC, the American-Israeli PAC. They're the ones that are getting their campaign contributions to.
Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna.
Massey said that every single person in Congress has an AIPAC handler, where basically they're just like God, I can't remember his name, but if you ever see pictures of Trump, there's the same guy, Witkoff, I think his name is.
Witkoff.
He's like the commerce secretary or something, but he's always standing over Trump's shoulder, and he is basically Trump's Israeli handler. He's always there in his press conference, like every press conference, no matter where he's at. He can be on the tarmac, he can be in the Oval Office. There's Witkoff, just standing over them. And every time, and Witkoff brought his own kids to Epstein Island.
What was that? Yeah, it was.
That's the kind of person he is. And like every time it's brought up about kids and Epstein and child rape and everything, he just laughs. Everything's funny. They think it's funny because
Lutnick. Is it Lutnick? Is it Lutnick?
Oh, it's Lutnick. Yeah.
Lutnick. Yeah.
Yeah.
His neighbor
got away with it, and there's nothing anybody's going to do with it because they own the courts, they own the justice system. Look at Bondi. Oh, the files are on my desk. What are you talking about, files? Like, there's nothing here. We looked at it. There's nothing here,
right?
Nothing. Epstein trafficked children to himself.
Yeah, Cash Patel. He definitely killed himself.
And literally had to pass a law demanding that they release the files, and then they spent $3 million in overtime redacting everything, and they ended up redacting all of the perpetrators and they exposed a bunch of the victims. So that's our government, that's our government. It's evil to the core, and it is a Mossad honeypot. The Epstein. That's the whole point of the Epstein scandal. Is it was a Mossad honeypot to trap our politicians in blackmailable offenses, where like, all right, you're on video murdering a kid, raping a kid, eating a kid. Now we own you. That's the whole point of Epstein. That was the whole point of the whole Epstein thing. And like, you could have brought down the entire establishment by just prosecuting that case. I mean, like they had, that girl got caught on the hot mic for ABC News saying she had everybody. She had Clinton. She had everybody. And they just told her to squash the whole story because ABC is owned by Disney, and Disney's like satanic pedophile land. So that goes to the whole power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely thing. They and they're satanic. Yeah. And one aspect of being satanic, and it's not just worshiping a fallen angel known as the devil. Satanism from an esoteric point of view is just the ego unleashed. If it feels right, do it. Might makes right. That kind of. If you can do it, do it. You have like the inversion of right and wrong and beauty and ugliness. Everything's inverted. But one of their favorite things to do is to defile the innocent. It's like their middle finger to God, a middle finger to the creator, a middle finger to source. They defile the innocent. They rape them, they eat them. They drink their blood. The whole adrenochrome thing that is absolutely real.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They make movies about it, putting it in your face. Like it's so funny. Like you look at like Monsters Inc.
No
Like,
kidding.
Monsters Inc. That's a movie about adrenochrome, making the kids scream and harnessing their fear. Adrenochrome.
Well, did you? I actually just did a live a few months ago about Pinocchio, and like I rewatched Pinocchio, and you're like, holy shit, how much symbolism was way back then. Pleasure Island, they don't come back as boys. Like what? You know, they come back as donkeys, and it's just there's so many snips about in that, and it's like Disney is just riddled with it's. I don't even watch movies anymore because it's just in my it's all washing. It's all mind washing and brainwashing, and it's crazy. And that's something, when we were kids, you're watching this stuff thinking that it's all, for lessons. And now it's like, holy shit, the symbolism, it's right there. And it's quite amazing, actually. Disney is not like, I mean, even to the, I did a little research into the logo thing and about the elite logos and Disney 666. It's there. It's like you can't deny it. It's sitting there and like, oh, that D is really, really weird. No, it's 6. Come on. Yeah.
I say it all the time. Once you notice, you can't unnotice. It just can't unnotice. The noticing will continue until morale improves. And the thing is, and I don't, that's another reason why I don't like get mad at people who hate me or don't want to associate with me. Like it's so unbelievably evil that you just don't want to look at it. You don't want to look at it. You don't want to face it. And in order to really face that, not just from an intellectual level, from a soul level, like you really genuinely understand at a soul level what's really going on. All of these nonsense distractions that you got going on, your Netflix and your football and your fantasy league and your bars and your drinking and all of the things that you do that are just spiritually self-destructive, those things have to go out the window. Like you don't have time to worry about football when you understand who's in control and what their agenda is. Their agenda is to cull the vast majority of us. You know what I mean? Like Agenda 21, Agenda 30. They blew up. Sometimes I wonder if they blew up the Georgia Guidestones because it was a little bit too obvious, where they actually said that the population of humanity need to be kept below 500 million people. Well, that's an over 90% reduction in the population. How are you going to do that? Yeah. You got Bill Gates coming along saying that, through vaccinations, they'll using vaccinations, they'll lower the human population and all these kinds of things, and then you get COVID, which was totally
he was in a TED talk. He said that, and that was weird. That was really weird when he said, like, I'm going to use vaccinations to keep the population. It's like, hold on, don't you want to save lives here? Like, what? Yeah. And when you show that to people still go, well, maybe he meant. What do you mean? He said they're telling us every step of the way. They're telling us. Yeah, and it's quite horrific. And I think that seems to be like the people that can't believe it. And it's just and I don't know about you, but I learned this through nutrition. Like when I started really learning about nutrition and doing these deep dives into it, my mind was like, how were we so wrong about this? And then it's like, oh, that's why. Mm-hmm. And then it all starts to add up and you're like, wait a minute, this was on purpose. It wasn't an accident that they created seed oils and made us all,
So I went the opposite way. I learned about it first. And then I realized that's why the food was so bad. And that's why, and I was like, oh, if you want to kill me, you got to get personal. I'm not killing myself for you. Yeah. And that's why, like, everybody thinks I'm a lunatic because I literally never cheat. You know what I mean? I don't ever eat a piece of cake. I don't care if I'm at a party. I don't care if it's my own birthday. I don't care if it's New Year's. I haven't had a drink in 3 years. You know what I mean? Like I don't ever, and I'm not thumping my chest about it. I'm just like, this is all, this, even whether it's designed or whether it's there or not to harm me. They want me to harm myself, and I'm not doing it. I won't do it. Not even once.
Hey, skip the dishes, man. It's there. Just, know, and I feel the same way. Like I'm not going to say I eat perfectly, but everything that I'm doing, it's like, okay, why is this food? Because a lot of my friends, they go like, how can you be so disciplined? And I'm like, how can you not be? Yeah. Like if you understood what food is, I would hope that you're not going to be just slowly poisoning yourself. That's kind of my, right? It makes sense to me. It's like, if you understood, and I get asked, I don't know about you, but people ask me, and then they hate the answer because they'll ask me about this, and I'm like, what's the ingredients? Why don't you read it? Well, I'll tell you what, if it's got more than one, it's not good for you. Simple. But they still ask if, titanium, blah, 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 blah is okay. And it's like, no, it's not. I don't think it ever was, and I don't think it ever will be. And that's something. So you're when you say you don't cheat, you're just eating like a human, basically, in all shapes, in all sense of the word. Because I love it. I think I don't really like, in the diet culture, the cheat meals. It's like, to me, that doesn't make sense. I don't.
You reward yourself by harming yourself. How does that make any sense at all?
Yeah. I want to talk about the moon, because you commented on that too, and it's just, we're going everywhere, buddy. This is what are your thoughts on the moon? Did we go?
I believe we did go. The thing about those types of conspiracies, like, there's some legitimate conspiracies that are very obvious if you really have an understanding, and then there's a lot of conspiracies that are just based on pure assumption. Like the basic reasoning for it is, I don't understand how this works, so it must be fake. And asking questions is awesome. I mean, ask questions like, how did they manage to do this? You know what I mean? Like a lot of the moon vehicles that they show driving around look like total pieces of garbage. The moon lander looks like it's made out of trash. You know what I mean? Like, and they think, oh, you really think that went to the moon? And I'm like, okay, all right. Why does it look like that? And also, if they were going to fake it, why didn't they make it look like a pimped out Star Trek looking vehicle or something? You know what I mean? Why make it look like a piece of garbage? Like, do you understand anything about physics or engineering, or like the way that it was built, the way that it had to be packaged, and the way that it had to be unpackaged? Because I imagine that a full size rover couldn't fit inside the rocket. It probably had to be folded up or whatever, or put together. Yeah. And not to mention, you're not in a place with an atmosphere, so you don't need like doors and windows and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like a Rolls Royce. And I don't have a dog in the sun. It could be totally fake for all I know. I mean, yeah, they could be legitimately fake. Like, a lot of people will be like, like there'll be a picture of Nixon on the phone with the moon, and everybody's like, you can't call the phone. You can't call the landline. I'm like, no, but you can call Houston. Yeah, and Houston can patch you through.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not a very big logical leap to make. It's just a lot of these. I have not seen anything that was like definitive, obvious proof of a fake landing, but I've also seen some very interesting theories where they said that we went to the moon, and then what we found at the moon we couldn't show people. So then a lot of people said they pre-filmed the landing in the studio in case something went terribly wrong, and they could show the pre-filmed version of it as a propaganda thing, so they weren't embarrassed by the Soviets. There's all kinds of theories on that. I really genuinely think that we did go to the moon, and that there are things on the moon that they can't show us, because the moon is very, 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 very interesting. I don't think it's a natural structure.
Yeah, for sure.
There's so many different anomalies about the moon that makes it impossible. Yeah. Like, for one thing, the ratio, the mass ratio of the moon and the Earth is way off. Like, a planet the size of the Earth should not have a moon the size of the moon. The larger the moons, there's only 4 moons in the solar system that are larger than our moon, and they're all on gas giants. They're all on Saturn and Jupiter. And then there's our moon, which is larger than Pluto. It's a massive object, and yet it's being held in our gravity.
And it's just perfect enough to make a total eclipse. Like, it's 400 times smaller than the sun, and exactly 400 times closer to the sun, closer to Earth than the sun. So when it eclipses, it perfectly blocks the sun. That's another highly improbable aspect of it. When the astronauts left the moon and they jettisoned their rockets or whatever they jettisoned, they had seismic instruments on the moon, and when it hit the moon, it rang like a bell for hours. And they also, I think under Clinton or
a few decades ago, they actually hit the moon with a kinetic bomb and measured the effects, and it rang like a bell again. It's hollow inside. It's tidally locked. It always faces this on the exact same side for some reason. That's very, very unusual. Yeah. And then you have the side facing the planet. The geography of it, is much more. You got the lava oceans on the front. And then on the back, it's all cratered. And the craters they all seem to be the same.
Yeah, the depth. Yeah, the same depth.
And no matter how wide the crater is and how big the object was that hit it, they're the same. They're the same basic depth. It's very weird stuff about the moon. Very weird stuff about Saturn. You got that hexagon on Saturn. There's just some weird. There's some weird ancient myths that claim that Saturn was once at our pole stationary. That something happened that knocked it out of that stationary place, and I don't know. There's some weird stuff I'm just getting back into now because I was into all this stuff back in the early 2000s, and then life took over for me. I became a homeowner, and I just stopped learning. But I kind of got back.
Saturn is just as fascinating as the moon, man. Like I don't know if you heard Jordan Maxwell's little spiels on Saturn. Like it's pretty fat how we all, the Sabbath, Saturday, and Saturn's a pretty big in astrology. It's a pretty big deal. How many times Saturn comes through your whatever it is house. I'm not an astrologer, but
in Gnosticism, Saturn is the demiurge.
Yeah.
And Saturn is also another name for Satan.
Yeah.
And the Romans, I think it was the Romans, believed that the Jews were Saturn worshipers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff in the Bible about the Jews worshiping Satan or worshiping Renfrim, worshiping Moloch or Baal.
Baal, yeah.
The synagogue of Satan in Revelations. You know what I mean? Like so, and it's just interesting to me. Like there's always the esoteric version of it, and there's the exoteric version for the vile masses. You know what I mean? Like so they had to keep. They say they had to keep everything secret and hidden behind symbology and allegory to keep people from bastardizing it or whatever. But then I think they ended up using it as a tool for power over the rest of us because they're keeping knowledge that they have and using it against us. That's what all of these psyops are. It's all, they call it sorcery. It's just really dark occult psychology, like you saw it during COVID, like, because Epstein had just broken out after COVID. Like the whole Epstein didn't kill himself was just like the meme of a lifetime in America. Epstein didn't kill himself, and they knew why they killed Epstein. They knew they killed Epstein to protect the Clintons, to protect all these powerful people. And then I was like, yes, people are finally starting to get it. And then COVID came out, and it was like a switch went off, and everybody was like, oh, COVID bad. Must be scared. Stay inside. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and they're banging their pots and pans and yelling at people walking outside and everything. And I'm like, what are you people doing? And that's when someone told me to look into dark occult psychology, or sorcery. They call it sorcery. It's just psychology. It's just trauma-based mind control. When I looked into that, everything made total sense. And we're in a lot of trouble because a lot of people are waking up to what happened during COVID, but they're not conscious of why they were so taken by what was obviously a psyop. I mean, they told you it was a psyop. They told you that they were, like you had stage 4 lung cancer and you were in hospice and you died and you had COVID and they called you a COVID death. Like someone got shot in the head and they had COVID. He was a COVID death. Motorcycle accident, COVID death. You know what I mean? Like they told you they were doing this. And everybody was still just freaking out, wearing masks, getting like I think it was 70 million people, 80 million people got at least one of the shots. And you're like, how could that happen? How could people be so oblivious? And it's trauma-based mind control. They can turn you on like that.
And that's the same thing that, like, when people say, like, how did Nazi Germany happen? Well, just look at what happened during COVID, man. And, the people were obviously manipulated, and, it's like the mass psychosis was easy to do. Like, I was blown up. Like, I mean, I don't know about you. I lost my family. I lost a lot of, because I was trying to think, and I got persecuted for thinking and excommunicated from a family for thinking. And that was, to me, it was like, now I'm looking at it like just, I'm glad I did, because there's no way that there was going to be any reason why I would go the other way. I mean, it's unbelievable what happened. And I mean, it's kind of funny that you just mentioned the Epstein thing, because do you think that's why the war's happening now? Because this thing got a little bit too exposed?
Yeah. I mean, they wanted to do the war anyway. They've been wanting to bomb Iran for generations, like 20 or 30 years, they've been 2 weeks from a bomb.
Yeah.
It was, but I really think it's part of the whole Build Back Better Agenda 2030 kind of agenda, where like we haven't even seen the supply side end of this come yet. Like there's been, the gas rose on market, trading and everything, but the gas and the liquid the oil and the liquid natural gas that hasn't come out in, I guess, what are we on, 3 months now?
Yeah, something like that.
Those tankers ride slower than you ride your bicycle. You know what I mean? Like we haven't even seen the supply side of that catastrophe hit us yet. And then once it hits us, it's going to be prolonged, because they're still creating, disruptions in the region. And then even once it starts again, if it ever starts, I mean, again, the tankers drive slower than you ride your bicycle. So it had the product has to reach the refineries and everything to get back to start affecting the supply side of the whole supply and demand equation. So yeah, I think, and that's always been the Agenda 21. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's on the UN's website. You can look it up. If you look at the map, if you look at the UN Agenda 21 Sustainable Development map of America, most of America is to be off limits for human inhabitation. It's basically, if you've seen the Hunger Games, the Hunger Games is a docudrama about Agenda 21. You have these smart cities where all the elites and the rich people live, and then you have
districts,
the districts that used to have people living free and everything, and now they're just starving, and they're hunting wildlife, and then they're destitute and poor and sick, and that's basically what it's gonna be. So like all of the large cities are going to be turned into smart cities. You're not going to have a car. They call it 15-minute cities, where you can get everything you need within 15 seconds of your house. And you're not going to be allowed to eat meat, and you're just everything about with the digital currencies and everything's going to be completely controlled about your behavior, your freedom.
Well, I think that's probably why that's what in my opinion, I think they're destroying Canada for that reason. I think it's just going to get sucked up by it's not even the United States, just the North American territory. And because it just doesn't make sense. Like the Canadian, it's like, what's going on up here? It just doesn't make sense.
During COVID, all of the most liberal democracies, all of the places you thought were like bastions of freedom, were the most authoritarian, the most vicious. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, America,
Ireland, UK. Yeah,
it was almost like they were competing with each other to see who could be more brutal to its people. So yeah, if you understand Agenda 21, it's all tied in. It's all the Build Back Better, the Great Reset, they're calling it now. Like if you look into your zoning laws, like anything, anywhere you see like sustainable development, that's all Agenda 21. Like around here, like the codes are making it more and more difficult for you to build on your own property anymore. I live out, and I definitely live in flyover country. They do not want us living here. They do not want us building houses here. They don't want us doing anything here. They want control over all the water, all the aquifers and everything. And they just basically want to stamp out the population outside of the smart cities. And that's why they brought in all of these migrants from South America here and from the Muslim countries in Europe, because they are destitute and poor, and they'll be much more agreeable, because they came from destitution and poverty and vicious governments. So they don't have any they don't have any flare of independence and revolution in them. They're just beat up. They just want a place to live and have a job and some food.
So do you think they're full on manipulating the weather?
I'm kind of. They are, yeah, they are. I mean, like, it's not even, they had like Operation Popeye, I think it was, during the Vietnam War, and the Chinese and the Arab Emirates are like cloud seeding, making it rain. They can definitely manipulate the weather. And there was a tropical storm that had hit the Gulf Coast. It was a hurricane when it hit the Gulf Coast, but it got all the way up into like North Carolina and South Carolina, which is like 1,000 miles inland. And this I've been through dozens of tropical storms. I mean, they're a storm. The wind gets kicked up a little bit, but they're not destructive. I mean, they might blow over a weak tree here and there sometimes, but they're not catastrophically destructive. But what happened in the Carolinas was catastrophic, like way beyond what a tropical storm should have done. I mean, they still haven't rebuilt it because
didn't BlackRock buy up all the property or something?
Yeah, or either that, or there's those rare earth minerals that can be mined. They want to get into the mountains there and strip them of all the rare earth minerals, all the lithium and all that stuff. And so they don't want to pay out the insurance. FEMA's not helping people out. Like all of the cleanup and the reconstruction have just been done by private entities. They just went out there and did it because the government would show up and take up all the hotel rooms and then do nothing. You know what I mean? Like they were just there to obstruct. And that's just happening. That's happening in Hawaii. And just a lot of. I mean, it's kind of funny because it's one of those things where like literally everything that happens, you get on the internet and people are saying it's weather manipulation or anything. But I'm like, I don't know, man. Hurricanes happened before they knew how to manipulate the weather. Like there was weather before HARP. You know what I mean? So it's like it gets overwhelming when it's like every single time now they're trying to say it's weather manipulation. A lot of it probably is. I know that that Doppler Viper radar that they have right now is not just a radar. It's a very high energy, powerful, transmitter that can create atmospheric conditions to steer a hurricane in a particular direction if they wanted to, and you can see it light up. Like on that tropical storm I was telling you about, you could see these bubbles light up, and like if it would be going this way, and it was like and it was go this way. It's kind of crazy. So I don't know the science or the theories behind it very much, but I know that it's declassified that they can do it. So I know they're doing it.
Yeah,
I don't know which is what when it happens.
It's like England when England said, we're gonna be blacking out the sun. It's like, oh, really? You're gonna be like that's
nobody's stopping them. Like, oh, do you think maybe someone should stop you from spraying things in the atmosphere?
Yeah, that was my next question. Chemtrails. Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I think they're probably real. I think they probably. I look up and I'm like, that just doesn't look like condensation to me. And and like everybody and some people try. And like you get gaslit. Like it was always there. You just didn't notice. And I'm like, no, I don't remember ever seeing contrails that looked like they were dripping in the sky. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look like that doesn't look like like a contrail. It looks like they're spraying something potent in the sky. And
man.
There's a lot of they're saying it's barium salts and aluminum something, and they're like they find it in the ground. And a lot of times the sky and like you'll see them fly over the sky and the lines are in the sky 1 minute, and then like as time goes on, the whole sky turns into this haze.
Just settles. Yeah.
And I'm like I don't know. I don't understand atmospheric dynamics and all that kind of stuff, but it does seem very 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 suspicious. And there was I think it was a CIA, and the next head of the CIA said that no matter how conspiracy minded you are, what the government is doing is worse than you can imagine.
Yeah.
Even if you can, like they're just again, it just goes back to the whole, absolute power corrupts absolutely. These people are suicidal nihilists. They don't care if in their destructive tendencies they kill themselves. You know what I mean? Or like it's like that Game of Thrones quote, like he'll burn the whole world down if he can rule over the ashes. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of people we're dealing with. They're just
And I don't think there's no borders. Like it's all over now. Like everywhere it seems like there's so many similarities, yet it's just like, and that's the thing with like the chemtrail thing. Like I just look up and go, and I'm the same way as you. It's like I don't know myself from Adam when it comes to chemicals in the atmosphere and the science, but I've never noticed it like that, and now I start to notice it, and something's different. Definitely something's different, and I'd like to think of myself as pretty savvy and aware.
I will say this: it was probably like 2007, 2008 where I really started hearing about it, and I really started looking up, and it's a lot worse now. It's definitely worse now. Like I was like, every once in a while I'd be like, is that a chemtrail? Is that a chemtrail? And now there's like the whole sky is just checkerboarded with it, and I'm like, what the F, this is nuts.
Yeah. Have you noticed anything with fog? I don't know where you live if you get fog very often, but I mean, I've noticed because like where I live in just off the ocean up on a hill, and fog would roll in and it would be low. Like, and I've noticed over the last year, the fog seems to be like at street light level. And I'm like, this is okay. I'm 50 years old, man. I've seen a lot of fog, and it never looked like this. It never looked like this. So I don't know if you've noticed a difference in the fog.
I live in southern Mississippi, so we have a lot of waterways and bayous and kind of like swampy areas and everything. So we do get fog a lot, and a lot of times the fog will look like kind of like a ceiling that's maybe like 20 or 30 feet in the air. Like that's really cool looking. Mm-hmm. Not something I really notice much about. Is fog just seems like fog to me, I guess. But who knows? I mean, it might be different where you're living. Who knows what they're doing in Canada, or if you have some kind of secret government installation somewhere.
Well, no, man. We just have China now. Apparently, there's China military at one of our islands off the coast, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
what the hell? So it's funny because our election was based on Trump is the Antichrist, and we have to elect Mark Carney to defend us from Trump, and now he's doing these sideline deals with China, and we've got. Like it's unbelievable. It's like how is this? It's just and I mean I don't really care either way because I'm not for anything, but it's ironic that everybody gives a shit about our nearest and dearest closest friend since since Canada's been around, and now you're just letting and I watched people in like I used to work for this high-end kitchen store, and it was like the chefy stuff, and people would come in and they would be bitching about everything being made in China. Is this made in China? Is this that? And now I'm like, why do you cared so much about this? But now we're just turning into China. That's all that's happening. And I don't know how it's just interesting how this geopolitics is lining up. Because I don't know because I'm looking at I'm trying to see the end game, and I don't know if it's Pax Judaica or if it's just that, like you mentioned, the Hunger Games. Obviously they want full like a centralized control, but how they're going to get it, do you think there's going to be civil wars?
There's going to be upheaval. I mean, that's part of civil war in America is definitely they've been really pushing the racial hatred since at least the Biden administration. It really ramped it up under Biden with the whole
Black Lives Matter,
Antifa. That was all completely staged. I mean, like they would be protesting, and then like you would see this person walk with an umbrella in the sunlight. He would walk up to the auto zone and throw a rock through the window, and then like walk away. And I was like, and we were like, what was that? Well, what it was an agent provocateur, they called him. It was a cop or a Fed. He was carrying the umbrella, so his Fed buddies would know it was him and not just some random person. And he would break a window in order to encourage other people to violence. They would be dropping off. They would just show up. They would show up and they would be out and protesting, and then there would just be this random pallet full of rocks and bricks there. Like, how did this get there? You know what I mean? Like everything was completely staged. just like the January 6th riots. You know,
I was just gonna ask you about that.
They were like the Capitol Police were like, come on in. You know, and everybody just walked between the velvet ropes, just kind of like, oh, this is the Capitol, and like, you know, like one person stood at the speaker podium, and you know, like the one girl got a little bit excited and broke the window and tried to climb through. She's dead now. They shot her. You know, like it was, but they had hoped that it would be a lot worse than that. You know what I mean? They were like, they were really hoping it would be a lot worse. They were like, come on in. They were probably hoping they would just absolutely ravage the whole building. Everybody just walked between the ropes, and you know, like people who did absolutely nothing, you know, violent were sent to like black sites where they were tortured, and you know, just left in jail for like grandmas in jail. You know, it was, you know, and that of course was not so much meant to be an act of cruelty against them, although it was. That was supposed to instigate conservatives, you know, to get them riled up and get them agitated and ready to go. You know, everybody just in fight or flight all the time, like you know, harvest that loosh, and you know, saying that, you know, for years they've been, you know, just putting it in black people's you know, minds that it's white people who are holding them down and everything, and then the conservatives are telling white people they're under attack, and their whiteness is under attack, and God forbid you say to anybody that, you know, like, this is all divide and conquer. They call you, you know, like they call you a cuck or a race traitor or whatever. It's very difficult to experience, to witness, you know, because it's just completely unconscious people.
And that's the hardest part is, you know, when something happens. Now I've like my whole, because you just like, I walk around my neighborhood, and I'll hear a conversation about something. Oh yeah, and this happened, and there's just this, and it's like, can you guys, do you not see that this is orchestrated? This is designed, you know, like for us to not be able to speak our minds, that in itself is ridiculous. Because if you, I don't know, I can only imagine how many times you've been called a right-wing Trump supporting racist. But I mean,
depends on who's in office.
Yeah, and it's not even
racist when Biden was in office, and then now that Trump's in office, I'm a you know, Trump derangement syndrome libtard.
Yeah, because you said something to me in a message before we got on, and it was the, you know, the left hate me, the right hate me, and the center, like, you know, I can't remember exactly what you quoted, but it was beautiful because, like, yeah, man, I mean, I'm the same. I want to speak. I want to listen to truth or seek truth and question things. That's it. It's not about being on any side. And it's just, it seems how it's almost like I've said it before, but like how people, it's like the Matrix, like people, you think that they're coming out of the clouds and there's, you know, some little glimmer of hope, and then they just get sucked right back into an agent of the Matrix. It's unbelievable. And I'm starting to see it like right before my eyes. It's something, their belief systems just won't let go of something, and it's like Mr. Anderson right there. It's unbelievable. It's funny that you have the Matrix behind you too, which is cool.
Yeah, the Matrix is a Gnostic allegory, actually. If you really look into it, like the demiurge, one way to, you know, one interpretation of the demiurge might be an architect.
Yeah.
And then in the second movie, Neo meets the architect. He created the Matrix. You know what I mean? Like, and Neo was just another system of control. You know, it was all designed to, and they're in, you know, they're plugged in. They're in these pods and they're plugged in. And the agents are sucking their energy. That's loosh.
Yeah.
That's the energy vampires. So all of these, you know, like Trump, especially right now, but like all of these leaders, like, you know, like they're like Macron in France, and all of these just complete, just evil and soulless people doing and saying, like, all of the terrible things that Israel is doing right now, especially. I really feel terrible for the people of Gaza and Lebanon, because it's not going to stop. There is nobody to stop them. There's nobody that's going to rein them in. Yeah. And it's the cruelty and the violence and the evil is meant to engender a response that they can feed off of. It's made to, it's very, very difficult not to have a reaction. It's very, very difficult not to get angry, not to lash out. Every time Trump opens his mouth, I have to restrain myself because I'm like, I'm taking crazy pills. You know what I mean? Because he says one thing one day and he says the polar opposite the next day. It's like, and it's all purposely done to get that reaction out of you, and you just cannot indulge in it. Yeah. You know, like you can mock it, but don't let them get you uppity, and definitely don't make them feel like you have no hope or that you're, you know, demoralized and humiliated by it. You know, like you're better than them. You know, they have no power over you unless you give it to them.
Exactly. You surrender your power, and then it's And I mean, and I'm with you, man. I'd like it. It takes a lot. Like, I mean, Jesus, I have my breath practice. I have my meditations, and I'm the same. Like, I don't want to get too wrapped up, but like I now I'm at because I don't even like politics, man. I really, really don't like the idea of politics, but I feel now I just want to I don't want the wool pulled out from under me. Next thing you know, something shows up at my door, and now we're, you know, digital this and digital that. I would like to hopefully have a say in how my life goes, but it seems now, if you're not sort of aware of this stuff, geez, I would love to go off grid, but I don't even know how far off grid is gonna. Do you think there's places to go in the States, in America, that's off grid?
I was very, very deep in the prepper and survivalist mindset during like the last 20 years, probably before I went carnivore. And I could tell you, like, you have to really understand, you have to understand logistics and supply chains and everything, and how dependent you are on the system. Even if you try to like lessen your dependence on the system, like for instance, I own chickens. So like chickens lay eggs, so I got eggs, right? But like, what happens if the supply chain crashes and I can't get chicken feed? Where am I going to feed my chickens? You know, like chickens don't eat just grass. You know, chickens need a lot of protein, a lot of bugs and worms and lizards and stuff. I just don't have that around here. I don't have enough land. Like my last property, I had probably 3 good acres of woodland forest that I let my chickens free range on. And I cut them off from supplemental feed, and they didn't lay. They needed supplemental feed. Even on that beautiful 3 acres, I had like 10 chickens on 3 acres, and it was land that I had just recently cleared. It was in the woods, and I cleared it off, and so it was basically just pristine virgin woodland forest, and I was letting them pick. There was all kinds of bugs and worms and lizards for them to eat. And they just didn't do well if I stopped feeding them. So it's very difficult to be self-sufficient. Like, let's say even if you're growing vegetables, you know, how are you going to grow a lot of vegetables without a tractor? If there's if there's no oil, if there's no diesel, you know what I mean? Like you don't realize how very like who's going to make your tools if the grid collapses. If your tools break, you can't just go to Home Depot and buy another one. Or whatever. You can't buy another tractor. You can't buy another So you really have to have a really deep understanding of how dependent you are on the grid. And even if you have like solar panels, you know what I mean? Like solar panels don't last forever.
No.
You know, and the batteries especially, you know, don't last forever. The batteries only last like, I don't know, like what, 20 years? What are you going to do 20 years from now? Grid collapses, you're just not going to have power. You know, I mean, it's good to have it for 20 years past, you know, grid collapse, I suppose. But eventually, you know, it's daunting. It's really daunting. I mean, like I mean, like for people like us, if we're not raising our own food, our own animals, really, pasture, you can't do that. I mean,
no, I mean, a lot of people too. They think, "Oh, I've got a generator." I'm like, "Diesel, dummy! Like, really? Like, how are you going to run the generator?" You know what I mean? Like, what happens if the you know the? I mean, I don't know about gas prices where you are, but here it's just ridiculous, and diesel's not good.
Yeah, if you understand, like if you really look into Agenda 21 and all of these globalist agendas to basically just wipe us out, you know what I mean? Like they're going to do it. They're going to do it, and they really can't be stopped because we've tried to vote the people in to stop them. They've betrayed us at every single term. and they're just completely unhinged now. They're completely, they do it because they can. I tell it all the time. Why did the Epstein class do all these terrible things to children? And because they can.
Yeah.
Because they can. And the whole dog and pony show about whether or not they were going to release the files and everything was just a humiliation ritual, because they kept saying they weren't going to do it, and then they finally did it, and then absolutely nothing happened.
Yeah,
nothing happened.
Yeah,
I mean, if you don't look at the news, if you actually look at the files, it's the most horrific crimes you can imagine, and nothing happened from it. Nothing will happen from it. I mean, like, supposedly Anthony Weiner's laptop had some content on there that caused police officers to commit suicide.
Wow.
You know, like just horrific crimes, like Hillary Clinton carving off someone's face.
I heard about, I mean,
like really demented Hannibal Lecter level evil, and nothing happens because they know they do it because they can. There's just nothing we can do about it. And actually, if we get violent and we violently overthrow them, what then? Are we going to just going to create another government? Because then it's just going to restart the whole stupid cycle again. Like we have to exit and rebuild. Buckminster Fuller said, "You don't change things by fighting the existing order. You change things by creating a new order that makes the old order obsolete." And I don't really see people doing that. You know what I mean? Like it's very, very expensive to raise cattle now. And then without energy, without oil, the problem is, like, if someone starts developing like Tesla like technology,
0 point energy
zero point,
yeah,
then the government will just destroy them or buy them or kill them.
It's just like everybody that's ever come up with any kind of fuel source that's not been part of their system, they've just been unalive, they're disappeared. Go figure, right? Yeah. Like that's
hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, and you can run buses off of hydrogen, but they won't let you do it.
So no doubt. Are you a fan of David Icke?
Yeah. I don't. I hard to tell if he's. I hear stories about him being controlled opposition or anything. People like him that are really, really popular and everything, I'm very, very skeptical towards. Like, you have to have discernment. You have to take everything with a grain of salt, and you have to really decide if what they're saying resonates with you or not. But I think he's basically trapped in his own country because nobody will let him in. So that doesn't necessarily mean that that he's good. It could just be what they do. But
I think the reason I ask is because, like,
I've learned a lot from David Icke. Definitely, he was definitely pivotal in my early awakening. I watched his, I think it was called Freedom or Fascism, his video. It was like a three disc video. And then I read the biggest secret book, I think it was called.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
I read the roadmap, and it's like the one thing it's sort of the reason I ask is because it's the archons, and it's that other there's more than just money, power, and control. Like, there's something else that is driving this. And I mean, I don't know about exactly if there's a demonic force controlling us from the astral, possible, I guess. Yes. But it seems to be that there's, and that's what I think a lot of people getting back to it. They can't see that the shit is real like that. And that's, it ties everything in, the corruption, the stuff. And that's why I just wanted to know.
Yeah, that goes back to what we were talking about, like with a lot of the influence that Jews have, and like they seem to be very close to the top of the power pyramid, but they're probably not anywhere close to the power pyramid. It probably goes way, like, David Icke is famous for saying that if you know the person's name, they're not in control.
Yeah.
So it's not Netanyahu who's controlling things, even though it does seem like he is. But David will tell you that there's forces well above the earthly powers, and they're not human.
Yeah.
And that could be archons. I believe in one of his books he said that that Saturn was sending kind of like a signal to I think think it's from Saturn to the moon, and then from the moon to Earth, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I've heard theories about that the moon being a soul trap, and like Saturn
kind of similar to that movie They Live, where that frequency was being beamed off the top of the building, making everybody in a trance, or kind of like a mass hallucination.
Yeah.
So very, very similar concept. Who knows? Like one thing you have to understand, if you're listening to this and you're like, what the F is all this crazy stuff? One thing you have to understand is that if you understand, especially if you study quantum physics and all of that, not only, I forget which physicist said this, but not only is reality stranger than you imagine, it's stranger than you can imagine.
Yeah.
And even what we know about like quantum mechanics and everything, like from a layman's perspective, if you think you know quantum mechanics, you don't know quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
Because it is absolutely bananas what happens to reality when you get down to levels that small. And basically, in my opinion, if the finite mind can imagine it, then it's probably happening, or it's probably possible. Because our minds are we have an infinite reality, and our minds are so fallible and finite that if our puny little minds can imagine it, then it's probably not as far-fetched as you think it is.
And that's probably a reason why they keep us dumbed down as well, right? Like, all these poisons, toxins, stuff, like it doesn't.
Fluoride in the pineal gland.
Doesn't let us open up our minds as to our full potential to begin with. I think that's probably a no-brainer. Like, I mean, really, no pun intended, no-brainer. But
when they scan your brain, when they scan your brain for cancer, they're looking at the pineal gland because it'll be calcified, and they can see it on the X-ray. And if the pineal gland isn't in the center of the hemispheres, it's moved off to the side. That's when they start suspecting a tumor pushing it off to the side. And what calcifies the pineal gland? That's fluoride.
Yeah.
That's
get it on your teeth, right? Like
it's a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's just a coincidence that they put it in to help our teeth, and whoops, it blackened your spirit. It took a can of black spray paint to your third eye. Whoops.
Yeah, that's all right. And it just happens to be in the water for our better health, right?
Yeah. It's so toxic that I can't dump it in the rivers or streams, but and it'll corrode concrete. But we put it in your water to fix your teeth. Oh, and if you take too much of it,
I remember.
You'll get dental fluorosis if the dosage is too high, and then they come out and say
I remember sitting in the dentist with those trays of fluoride as a kid, and then like now as an adult, I'm like, I go to the dentist, I'm like, do you touch me with fluoride? We're gonna have problems. Like, they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Just don't. I don't want any fluoride near my teeth. And it's funny how even that still the dentists are like, well, it's not a problem. Like, oh my Lord, what do you do?
Sometimes I wonder, like I went to the same meat grinder as everybody else did, so why am I able to see through everything? Like, why do I have this discernment, and why do I have this complete lack of care what everybody thinks about me? You know what I mean? Like some people are just completely slaves to the opinions of other people. I could care less. I will lose everything. I don't care. That's how like the whole story of me getting banned off IG maybe, about what I was talking about. I don't know. Like I told them, I don't care if you all hate me. I don't care. Yeah. This is old hat to me, but I wonder if the reason why I'm like this, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know why I went to the same meat grinder, and it's weird too, because I know people that grew up in my town that are completely oblivious and unconscious, but they didn't fluoridate my water when I was a kid. New Jersey, believe it or not, only had like 22% of its municipalities fluoridated water, and their country overall was like 2/3 or more. So New Jersey, believe it or not, as much of an urban and suburban state as New Jersey is, only like less than a quarter of their municipalities fluoridated their water, and ours didn't. So I wonder if that's maybe why, or maybe it's because I took mushrooms when I was I really don't know. I had a very spiritual experience with mushrooms. Some people take mushrooms and just go on, amusement park rides and everything. Like I had a very, very deeply spiritual experience on mushrooms, and it was life altering. So maybe that's why. I don't really know.
Yeah. Well, I actually I talked with I had an author on, and his name's Guy Lawrence, and he's a big like Tartaria guy. And he really, his theory is that there's like 20% of the people that have the capability of waking up. The other 80%, they're just, it's in, like he actually even said that we all might be clones, and it might be a genetic thing that's in, and certain people wake up because they remember. And that might be it, because I often go, like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had conversations with people, and you have to sort of, like, it's not that I'm worried about what they're thinking of me, but when you're trying to introduce like some kind of, you know, we'll say just some conspiracy, you throw a breadcrumb, and you can sort of see how they react. Some of them just go like, "What are you talking about, man? There's no way, that's not true." And then others go, "Really? Oh, wow." And you can actually see the difference in the like the fork in the road. But he thinks it might be in our genes that we're remembering something, or there's some kind of, the consciousness is able to handle it. I don't know about what you think about that. But
well, all right. So here's a conspiracy theory. In the 20th century and maybe earlier, the social engineers. So basically, you had like eugenics in the 1800s and early 20th century, where they were going to try to genetically, through selective breeding, create perfect humans, and they were trying to block people from breeding who they deemed inferior. So a lot of people think that, not a lot of people know this, but Hitler learned this whole idea of an Aryan supreme race from Americans in Cold Spring Harbor in New York. But that didn't go over very well, especially after Hitler. He was very bad for publicity. So they did like a rebranding, and they started talking about social engineering. So where they weren't going to be able to genetically, selectively breed perfect human beings, but they were going to induce certain conditions on the mundanes like you and I to make us easier to control. So Rudolf Steiner, which is I really hope he was just warning about this and not bragging about this, because Rudolf Steiner is a phenomenal philosopher and esoteric teacher. Like, I've got like 20 of his books.
I'm a big fan of
my audiobook queue. But he said that there will come a day when vaccines will be used to remove the soul of human beings. And this is another, and Bertrand Russell, who is another, legendary philosopher. I don't know. I see so many people quoting him, and he always seems to have these deeply philosophical, deep truths. But he wrote a book called The Impact of Science on Society, where he said that there would be that through injections and drugs and poor diet and indoctrination, they were going to create almost like a subclass of human beings that would have the characteristics that the rulers would want. So they and you look at everything. That's the kind of thing that I was like, wow, I need to stop eating all this goy slop, because it's turning me into an imbecile. Like, you look at these foods, the MSG, the aspartame. These are excitotoxins. They murder your brain cells. All of the carbohydrates destroy your gut-brain axis. Gut-brain axis. Sorry, I said access. The axis. All of the things that we're told that we have to eat is like the whole food spectrum. Like, if you do the opposite of what they tell you, you'll be healthy.
Well, that's I mean, that's what happened to me, and that's the one. Like, all these carnivore people have these miracles and healing things. I'm telling you, my brain that was what I really noticed. I was like, I was a horrible student. I wasn't an asshole, but I didn't really care about learning things. Now I'm a sponge, and I'm like, that was the thing that I noticed. As soon as, maybe not even the meat, it was eliminating all the arguably poisons, that my brain came alive. And that's.
And you look at Orwell, 1984, Aldous Huxley, Brave New World. It's, so a lot of people ask if 1984 was a warning or a blueprint. The same with Brave New World. I think that Aldous Huxley was actually kind of envisioning a future that, based on the way he saw things going, what he called the final revolution, where, like, everybody just loves their servitude. Orwell Orwell envisioned a world where they burn books to keep us from knowing things, and then Huxley envisioned a world where we were overwhelmed with so much information that we became numb to it all. And then there's a quote by Henry Bergson, I think his name is. He says that some people are just born with spiritual immune systems, so that the programming, the matrix, basically. And if you look at the matrix, there's that ragtag group of people. They're all misfits and deviants, and there's only a handful of them, but they're fighting the whole system, like they're the only ones there. And look, if you ever stared at it, and have you ever stood there and stared at it and marveled at its beauty, its genius? Billions of people living out their lives oblivious, and they have no idea what's going on. They have no idea that they're actually hooked up to a machine, and their energy is being sucked in, and it's all distraction and nonsense. And then there's these people that see it for some reason. They don't know what it is. They don't know why. They just have to break it through it. And then when they do, the real world is just complete and total muck and dank and disgusting, and it's filthy, and you're starving and everything. And that's like the real world. Like you never really get out of the matrix, but when you take the red pill in this culture, you're rejected, you're hated.
Waking up is hard to do.
Yeah, you lose your social status. You lose your prestige. I can't tell you, and I'm actually thankful for this. But like back when I was in restaurant management, I really feel like I'm quite certain that my political and world views made me, just an outcast basically, and they didn't want to promote me. They didn't want me on their team, because I wasn't one of them. So and obviously I'm not a restaurant manager anymore, because that's a soul sucking profession that I would definitely not be sitting here talking to you today. If I'd stayed in that, I'd probably be very spiritually dead.
Me too, man. I was in the hospitality, man, like all my life. DJ, like I'm lucky to be alive, really. Like
You're a DJ too. I was also a DJ.
Yeah, and it was like I was 10. It was a decade of promo tabs around bars, and just like I don't know. Maybe that was the spark, but I mean, it's interesting how some people get it, and that's something that I've always thought too. It's like, man, especially it's hard with family too, right? Like I don't know how you feel with the family, if you've had any sort of, if they're receptive. I mean, some of my family are. My mom, bless her heart, she trusted me with her health, and that's kind of given me a carte blanche to talk about some of the stuff that most people can't handle, because she's just like, okay, well, arguably saved my life with my diet. Now when we talk about crazy stuff, she's kind of like, okay, my son's not a complete, he's not a complete radical. He seems to come from logic. So that's, but it is.
My dad and my brother thought I was batshit crazy for a while, but they get it now. They get it now. Like my brother is not full carnivore now, but he's very, very clean. I would say he's like a clean keto, where he does eat some salads and vegetables and whatnot, but mostly meat based. My dad, he's a boomer. He's kind of set in his ways. He does a little bit better, but as far as like the whole political scene and everything, I mean, he understands the politics and the fakeness of it all, and how it's all, he understands the false flags and the psyops and all that. Yeah. So I have them at least. A lot of my peripheral family, like cousins and uncles and stuff, they're military. A lot of military and police. So they either kind of like give me a wide berth, or they completely cut me off. It depends who they are, but I get it. It's
yeah, man. And you know what the funny thing is a lot of the stuff, like it's just specifically with the false flags. It's like it's documented history. Like you can go and look at this stuff, and then
look up Operation Ajax. Look up the McCollum memo. Look up Operation Northwoods.
Yeah,
look up the Dancing Israelis, Israeli art students, 9/11.
You just look at Operation Paperclip, and people go, no, just look at NASA, man. Like and then but you trust them. I mean,
the satanic rituals that went on with NASA, like the early days of NASA, was all Satanists.
Yeah.
And the dark occult rituals that they have at CERN, where they
kidding.
They did a sacrifice and they're like, whoops, that was a joke. we was just
nothing
joking
to see
around.
here, right? Yeah.
It was a mock sacrifice. You know, like
with Shiva the Destroyer and in the courtyard, like just like, oh my Lord, man. Yeah. My girl, her family's from right there, like they live just by, and I'm like always asking like how are they doing, because they're right, like I don't know, close to the collider, like they might even like a mile away or something. It's pretty wild. I'm like, oh, that's some freaky energy going on there. That's something probably for another.
You've heard of the Mandela effect?
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, a lot of people think that that CERN opened up like a black hole or something that shifted us into another dimension, and we remember things from the previous dimension that aren't true anymore. Like, I mean, some of it's kind of like some of it's kind of like, no, I know, I remember it that way, but some of it's like, you know, like the Berenstain Bears and like Shazam and stuff like that. I'm like, no, I remember that happened.
Yeah. The one that just like, I'm sorry, but it's mirror on the wall. It's not magic mirror. Like that's the one that I was like, holy no, like unreal. And I've actually had my own. I think I've had my own Mandela effect. Like, I mean, I'll just kind of briefly go through it, but I think I might have mentioned this on another podcast. But it's weird because I grew up in like multicultural Vancouver, a lot of Indian friends, a lot of East Indians, played soccer with them, holidays, dinners. There's a festival, apparently it's called Diwali. I've never heard of this. And 4 years ago, I'm like, the whole city shut down and fireworks everywhere. And I'm like, no, man, this did not exist in my childhood. I swear. I would have known. I would have seen this. There is no way. And I'm a pretty, you know, I like to know my cultures, and I'm a pretty well-cultured guy. I respect cultures. When I go traveling, I want to know I'm like, there's no way in hell. And this happened. And I'm like, all of a sudden it's the Festival of Lights, fireworks shooting off, city blocks closed. And I'm like, this did not happen when I was a child. So that's my little Mandela effect.
Yeah, it's cool. Reality is so unreal.
So I don't know. But yeah, that's right. Well, you know what, Stephen, I wanna have another one because I think there's so much more we could touch on. I mean, if we're just getting into the CERN now, that might be a good avenue for some stuff. But I love it, man, because, you know, I'm a big fan of your Facebook page. I've been following you like Metabolic side, Carnivore side for quite a while. And man, when you sent me your Gnostic Carnivore, I was like, ooh, that makes me, I love it. Let's get into some of the stuff that most people might think this is uncomfortable. But I enjoy talking to people that are like this is stuff that's fascinating to me. So I hope people, if it makes people feel uncomfortable, that gives them more purpose to listen and do your own research. I mean, I think that's one thing that I've been like, whenever I've noticed a couple times in conversations and posts, like what you've never claimed to be, you know, there's some people that just did, you know, they speak and they just throw it down and that is the way. No, this is another perspective. And, I love your take on things, and it hits home, man. I love it. And before we go, I just want to ask this question: if people walked away from this conversation, what, and they could question one thing that we talked about, what would it be?
Oh, I have to go back through all the stuff we talked about. I would say that. That politics is a form of collectivism, and collectivism is a mental disorder. And going back to that, look into that, like think about like all the ways we're divided up, and all of our identities, man, woman, the religions, the nationalities, all the, like the genders, the 100 genders or whatever, all the ways that they divide us up and get us fighting with each other. Think about like how you're expected to behave a certain way based on the identities that you've been kind of given or adopted, and how that kind of eradicates your individuality. Like if you're a conservative, like you have to behave a certain way, you have to think a certain way, and that's why people are so like they're so difficult. They're so like, and that's just one example. Liberal, whatever. I mean, anything. You're so averse to anything outside of that womb, it really restricts your mind and prevents you from growing, prevents you from evolving. You know, and if you get stuck into a pattern, and you become a secondhand human being, basically. So that would be my, you know, if you ask yourself who you are, and then think about, you know, like imagine somebody asked you who you are and how you would answer that. Are you like your name? Like, are you your name? Are you your nationality? Are you your religion? Are you the things that happen to you? And then think about how all of those labels and identities kind of limit your ability to express yourself and grow, because you're much more than all those things. You know, and all of those things, like Eckhart Tolle says, all of those things get compressed into a 2-inch line on your tombstone when you die. From the year you were born to the year you were dying, and there's your entire life. There's your identity. A little tiny line on your tombstone. And that's all it is. And it's not you, not who you are. So find out that person. Know yourself. That's the Stoic, you know yourself.
Yeah.
And understand the forces that act upon you, that inflict on you to act in ways that, you know, that aren't of your free will.
So. Love it, man. Well said, for sure.
Nice.
And I would love to have you back on the Meat of the Matter and talk about all things.
Hell yeah. I've been dying to get on the Meat of the Matter with you and Mark, man. I want to get it up.
We'll talk some. I promise, man. We'll talk some metabolic health and some meat. That's for sure. But I do appreciate you coming on and having this one, because, you know, when I was like, okay, I want to go off the rails, not like, you know, out of the norms, and it's lovely that we could talk about all sorts of shit, man. And I really do appreciate you. And I want to make sure everybody that was following Carnivore Invictus, make sure you go to Gnostic Carnivore. But I'll let you tell people where they can find you. And of course, if anybody's looking for metabolic help, or just, you know, somebody that knows their way around their body and human nutrition and all that stuff, Stephen, I know you're one of the top of my list. So
I appreciate that. I am certified in the Carnivore Coach International through Coach Pete. Ed Goki has a big, and Coach Stephen Thomas, and other big time names in the sphere had a hand in that program. So I'm pretty well versed in the metabolic aspect of nutrition, the holistic aspect of carnivore and all that. So, and I also took Bart Kay's anti-anxiety nutrition course on his Patreon. And there's so much more that I haven't just stopped learning. There's going to be hormonal health that I'm going to learn, and Stephen Thomas is actually putting out a phlebotomy course that's an actual certification. That's how to read blood work, blood panels, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be continuing to expand my ability to explain these things. I'm really excited about it. Like, I want to be a voice in this sphere, like Bart Kay, like Anthony Shafee, like Ed Goki, like Stephen Thomas. All of these, like, these are legitimately, they're not just talking about antidotes and everything. They're talking about the metabolic processes and the biochemistry and all that. Because, you know, you have all these Lane Nortons in the world and everything spewing like this nonsense with the data and everything. So that's like my goal. So I'm Gnostic Carnivore, probably Gnostic_Carnivore on Instagram. And then I'm still Carnivore Invictus on YouTube. I keep making these videos and I keep forgetting to upload them to YouTube. But I do have a few videos on YouTube about cardiovascular disease and you know, calories and all of those topics. And then I think I'm Carnivore Invictus on TikTok. But either way, on TikTok, I think you can search for me under my name, Stephen Curtin, Curtin, and you'll probably find me. I haven't been on TikTok for very long, and I don't really spend a lot of time on TikTok. I just upload my videos. I don't have a lot of followers, so I don't get a lot of interaction right now. So I don't even know. I'm pretty sure it's Carnivore Invictus, but definitely Gnostic_Carnivore on IG, and that's my home base basically.
Well, let's all go out and follow him on Instagram and TikTok. You know what? TikTok, we have 10 seconds anyway, man. You have 10 seconds for this. If it's that, someone swipes by anyway. So TikTok's interesting animal. But anyway, and you know, for everybody that when I look at who I listen to or pay attention to, and Stephen walks the walk, like I said, but his videos, he shows the life he lives and how he does it. And I always look at the outliers that are doing things when they're doing what they say, and you know, being as fit as you are. And yeah, it's a good look, man. And I think people should be paying attention, and hopefully a lot more do. And you'd be in good hands if you can trust it in Stephen Curtin, for sure. But I want to thank you, my friend, for
hanging out, sir. Great talk.
For hanging out with me, and we will do some meet soon, and we'll have back on for round number 2 soon, and go into. I'll figure out some other places we can go, which will be awesome.
Still plenty to talk about, believe me. Plenty to talk about.
Right on. All right, my friend. You take care, and we'll talk soon.
You too. Thanks for watching, guys.